4 requires a fourth crossover. Locked On Pacers and Locked On Thunder. The Thunder steal it. They take back home court advantage. Oklahoma City, the host for Game 5. Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder. Tony East of Locked On Pacers. So much to get to on a crossover finals podcast.
You are Locked On NBA Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy weekend. Welcome to a crossover podcast between Locked On Pacers and Locked On Thunder. It's the NBA Finals, and it's a best of 3, 2-2, as the series shifts back to Oklahoma City. The Pacers still won in Oklahoma. The Thunder still won in Indianapolis. What a series it's been. Lots of close games, as predicted on the first one of these crossovers. I'm Tony East. I host Locked On Pacers. Rylan Stiles is here, as usual. He hosts Locked On Thunder. Game 4, a doozy. The Pacers in control for 35, 40 minutes of that game. Sounds very familiar to Game 1. The team that was in control did not win Game 1. The team that was in control did not win Game 4. Rylan, how did the Thunder do it? They couldn't find any answers, and all of a sudden they found a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it all came together for them at the right time. I think it starts on the defensive end. Like, you can't put together that fourth quarter without what they did to Indiana on that end of the floor. Like, this is the first fourth quarter that they've won all series. The first time that they've really executed, and the first time that they've really flexed their muscles as this historically great defense that they've been all season long, holding Indiana to 17 points. In that final frame, OKC scores 31, and they did make adjustments. I mean, the half-court offense has been laborsome all playoffs long for OKC, partly because they have not shot the ball well in the entire postseason, and that trend especially continued in game number 4. But, moving Shea to where he's playing more off the ball, having him play off of J-Dub forced the switch because of how great the J-Dub was scoring the basketball early on. His ability to get downhill and get to the rim put pressure on Indiana to where you had to switch that, because if you didn't switch that, if you just went fully onto jumping that screen and everyone going to SGA, then J-Dub can turn the corner and have the numbers advantage downhill. So it's honestly not possible for Shea to have the night that he had and the quarter he had without Jalen Williams. And I know that the story is all about SGA, and SGA did wonderful things. The 3 he hit in that fourth quarter was special. The baseline jumper with the little shove and the step back was incredible, but it all stems from Jalen Williams.
So the defense part of it's fascinating because on one hand, like in Pacerland, the discussion was not even about the Thunder doing some crazy tweak defensively. It was just the Pacers being like, all right, one pass, dribble, pick and roll, isolation, go. And I understand, and I said this on my own show, the grip to think, okay, we can't turn it over. The only thing we can't do here is turn it over. We got to get a shot. So let's simplify the possession. But they just stopped playing like themselves. They only had one play where they really tried any clever, speedy action, and lo and behold, Lou Dort blows up a DHO. We'll call it that today. And lo and behold, the Thunder get a point off of that. And that's all you can't have, basically, but they just resorted so much to ISO ball. And so on one hand, that's on the Pacers. On the other hand, as has been now viral, Chet Holmgren was amazing in those last 5 minutes when he was getting targeted in those minutes. And when the Thunder switched a little bit more, that has been problematic for them at times in the series. It was not in that stretch. And so a Nembhard drive runs into Chet. 2 Haliburton ISOs get nothing, right? They just got nothing out of that. So that's where I feel like the Thunder defense was special, is just individual brilliance, right? To actually shut down the things the Pacers were trying to do, because the Pacers only needed 2 or 3 more points to really make that an interesting finish, and they could have just got them from free throws, but they didn't. And on the other end of the floor, it was the same play over and over. All right, SGA, you screen for J-Dub, and great. Andrew Nembhard's not guarding SGA anymore. Great, that's points. And so I think that was twofold. One is the thing you're saying where J-Dub was hitting these run at the rim, cross the lane, fading floaters over and over. Poor Aaron Nesmith, who had that guy's tendencies down pat for the first 2 games, is what is this? I can't guard this. And then because of that, they feel like they have to switch. They have to make that shot harder, or at least slow him down enough that help can come. So you put Nesmith on SGA, and you're not afraid of that as the Pacers, but SGA is the MVP, and he was not afraid of either, and he just shot over it. They just spammed it over and over. So brilliant individual stuff from the Thunder, and just dropping an egg on your face forgetting your principles stuff from the Pacers. And I get why they made the decisions they made. But to make those decisions, you have to execute some individual brilliance on either end of the floor. And the Thunder did a lot, and the Pacers did none.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder deserve a lot of credit for the stick-to-itiveness. Because I mean, Tony, we were in the old barn in Indiana. It was rocking. I mean, like when Obi Toppin had that slam, it felt like the Pacers just won the NBA Finals. It really did. And to kind of weather through that as a young team and have that resolve is, kind of a banner for OKC, a feather in their cap, if you will. But in that fourth quarter, I don't know why Indiana was just relying on targeting Chet Holmgren. I think that was a big.
Well, can I guess? Because he was laboring earlier in the game with that ankle.
Yeah, but the ankle thing would be the only reason why.
Yeah,
that has to be it. But to me, if you're worried about the ankle, you've got to do more than just dancing in the mid range. If you're Nimhard, and you got to do more than just launching a three. If you're Haliburton, like you've got to literally attack him and make him get behind you, and then see if that ankle, because like where Chet's so great is that he can switch onto an island with a guard and play off of him a little bit, give him some space because he can close out with his length. And then when the guard gets by him with their quick twitch athleticism, he's so long that he can be a step behind you while you're driving and just knock the shot out of bounds as a shot blocker. And so if he's hobbled, then you would imagine his recovery will not be as crisp. And the Pacers, whenever they did get the switch, didn't really try to get downhill against him, which I thought they probably should have done if that was your method. But the Thunder also had SGA block Haliburton's three. And then you mentioned the Lou Dort play, like the biggest play of the game for the Thunder's defense that really set a tone to blow up that THO. And individually, they just all played really clean. And I mean, Siakam was taken completely out of the second half by Jalen Williams and company. Like that was a big deal too for this Thunder defense.
Yeah, the ones that the Pacers will actually kick themselves for is the Turner missed open three. Like that was a well-executed play. They didn't force the ISO. He faked to get by Dort, and it was a clean look. Rough Indy trip for Myles Turner. He had a huge stop on Chet, obviously, at the end of game three, but not a great experience for him. And then obviously if Mathurin makes even two of the three, they have a chance to tie it or do something. So that's like 5 points right there on the table in a game that obviously the Thunder won by 7, but the score didn't feel that way, for all that fourth. They put it away late. Like they had the chances to make it not that, like even beyond all the miscues we're talking about. The dark magic was not there for the Pacers in the clutch this time. It really went away. And that's what MVP level players can do. And SJ did not miss at all. And they cleaned up at the foul line. It was just complete polar opposite ends of the spectrum execution. And in stark contrast to 2 days earlier, where the Thunder were up 5 going into the fourth quarter of game 3, and they had just regained control at the end of that third quarter, and it was like, oh my gosh, are they going to do this and get home court back? And they've been playing pretty well. And then the Pacers summoned this defensive monstrous quarter somehow and scored 30-something, and the building was rocking off a different Obi Toppin dunk. The exact opposite script for the exact opposite reasons for the Pacers 2 days later.
Yeah, I mean, Friday the 13th, you couldn't double up on the double magic if you're Indiana. But I really look at that game 4, and the Turner miss obviously is big, and I think it goes beyond math because you kind of bend, how the game flows. If Bennedict Mathurin doesn't have the mistakes at the end, the missed free throws, the away from the ball fouls were really costly because then you get the free throws and the ball. If you're Oklahoma City, which adds in because the Thunder were actually perfect at the line, it felt like, in game number 4 comparatively to what they've been in the past this postseason. They were the best free throw shooting team in the regular season. They have not shot the ball well from the free throw line in the postseason. But those 2 mistakes were huge. The missed Turner 3 was huge. But you saw that if those plays go differently, which is pretty controllable, outside, the Turner threes are volatile. Okay, maybe you don't want to give them that.
Yeah.
But if Bennedict Mathurin was like a 90% free throw shooter, if he makes his free throws, you saw the Thunder nearly get a 5-second call twice, and then J-Dub had a deflected pass in the backcourt that went out of bounds, and the Thunder retained possession. But the pressure gets to you in that situation on the road. So even if mathematically it doesn't add up to the 7 points that was the deficit, it does change how the rest of the time plays out if Mathurin can hit those free throws. And now I wonder, this is a question for you, Tony. It's felt like from the outside looking in that the Pacers have felt in control and felt confident in every playoff series to this point. And even the games that they've lost, it's felt like, okay, whatever. We're just going to get back on track next game. And this was, to me, the first time that Indiana has lost a game that they should have won. A team has just stolen it when they were the better team in a situation to even a series, and to now put the pressure on them to not have to go win on the road. Do you have any insight on how you think that they're going to respond to that situation?
Yeah, even the series part of this is fascinating because they were up 20 in the second half against New York in game 3, but they were already up 2-0. And they were even tied, I think, at like 97 or something with less than 2 minutes to go. Like, they gave away that game, but they were up 2-1, and then they won.
You had like a cushion.
Yeah.
And right now, like, it just told, obviously they've been the comeback kid, so I'm not saying they haven't fought through adversity, but it just feels different because you had a 68-win team on the mat dying, bleeding out, and you let him back up, and you gave him a first aid kit in game number 4. Totally. And this team, I don't wonder how this team responds. I wonder how Bennedict Mathurin responds, because like he's sort of a crossover comparison of like Aaron Wiggins, who can get really hot and literally win you a game, or can just kind of fade away a little bit, it feels like. And so after he had that late game situation, where is he going to be at in the terms of his nerves or confidence level? To me, just not knowing him and not covering him the way you do, he seems very confident in his game and very confident in himself. I don't really have any concerns about that, but the finals does change things and change players.
There you go. That's the point I would get to, is like, I can guess, right? I've seen these guys for years. They ran it back. Like, Mathurin's a very confident guy. You've seen what that looks like at its peak in game 3 and what it looks like at not its peak in game 4. You've seen pretty much every player in the series. Right? Has anyone been consistently great every game in this series, like on either team? I don't think so. Right? Like, I think that's just kind of the nature of the finals. Like the nature of two teams that are really good at adjustments is the moment is so big. And again, I hate to keep defaulting to this. Like, I didn't make a prediction because it's like, I don't know how the stuff that I can't quantify changes this. Right? And that's why it's been so hard. Like, you would think that after a game 3, like the one the Pacers had, it'd be hard for the Thunder to be like coming back and be like, oh, we had it, we gave it away. And they summoned the spear. And then they played a crappy game and they still summoned the spear, right? You just never know what these guys are going to be like in the finals. That's the gut punch of all gun punches, right? So how do you do exactly what you say? And now they're the ones who have to get up off the mat and figure out how to win. And they've won in Oklahoma, but I don't know how you feel. I think the team who has been the home team, despite the results, has played better in all 4 games so far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that it is a little bit of the old adage of role players just play better at home. Like, you look at what the Pacers got from TJ and Bennedict Mathurin in game number 3, right after what the Thunder got from Wiggins and Alex Caruso. And Caruso was really good in game 4 on the road, but he's also a 30-year veteran. Whereas guys like Joe, guys like Wiggins, like they've looked unplayable at times in the old Gainbridge Fieldhouse barn. Like, they just have not looked anywhere close to what they look like for Wiggins, more so than Joe, what they look like at home in that game number 2 in that massive spot, to where I do think that the home team has to feel great. The crowds also, like, just to pat our listeners on the back, the crowds do. And really Alex Caruso admitted this, of just like, there are multiple times in game number 4 where it's at stake because you can't go down 3-1. So like, internally, you're already feeling that pressure. And then heading into a timeout, the place is ready to just absolutely implode. And you'll sit down on the bench, you look at the scoreboard and you realize it's a 5-point game. But it feels like you're down 25 billion points because of how the momentum is shifting in the building, and both fan bases being able to do that makes for some excellent basketball and some excellent opportunities to swing situations and games of this series. But I do think that it's been the role players who have played a lot better at home. Like, I think that some of the stuff where, like, Shea coming out of a shell in the quarter number 4 would have happened anywhere. Tyrese Haliburton having a great game was going to happen anywhere. He just had to kind of figure out how to navigate this Thunder defense a little bit better. And so I do think, though, that the role players are a big deal.
The Clappers, Rylan. It's the Clappers. That's the saving grace of the Income Center. It's a best of 3 now. So much more. Pacers Thunder finals talk coming up here in just a moment. Before we talk about that, got to tell you guys about Monarch Money. If you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just manage your money and start building wealth. They'll give you so many surprising insights, areas where you're spending too much, so you can budget smarter and save more. You don't have to juggle multiple apps. You can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing your money with a partner is even easier. You can use shared and personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. Back here crossing it over on Locked On Pacers and Locked On Thunder. Thanks for making both of us your first listen on this weekend. Locked On Heat, Locked On Spurs, Locked On Rockets. Your second listen, I believe.
The holy trinity of Kevin Durant.
I believe those are the holy trinity of Kevin Durant destinations. I think the total sum of those teams' income tax, Rylan, would be zero. I wonder if that has any potential bearing.
I've heard that. I've heard that there's no state income taxes in Texas and Florida.
Any potential bearing on
I heard there's a lot of tax in Minnesota who wants Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant does not want to pay the piper.
That is interesting. One of those three teams certainly stands out to me the most. Maybe you should listen to that show because they also just extended Steven Adams, Jackson Gallen of Locked On Rockets, to play more about.
And he also kind of looks like Tony East, so you can have a familiar face.
Love Jackson, great dude. Okay, it's a best of three now. This was something someone suggested to me that I want to get your take on. How much does this remind you of Thunder Nuggets? Just the way, even down to the trailing on the road, game 4 down 2-1 for OKC. And what did OKC kind of summon the rest of that series mentally that the Pacers need to be prepared for?
Down to trailing on the road in game 4 while shooting horrifically, while shooting the worst you could possibly ever shoot from 3 if you're Oklahoma City. It's been very reminiscent of really just look at the storylines of the games too, not even just how the game happened, because they blew both of the game ones against both teams. But heading into those games, the reason why it especially felt like you blew them was because with the Denver series, all people could talk about is, hey, the Thunder had 9 days off. Denver had 36 hours off from playing a game 7. The Thunder have to win this game. Then they didn't win this game. And it's like, okay, now this young team is behind the 8 ball. And then you get to the NBA Finals all week long. We're just like, Thunder in 5. Everyone's picking Thunder in 5. And, we're just sitting around going, hey, guys, on Locked On Thunder, Locked On Pacers, this is going to be a really intense series. And then game 1 happens and everything flips against this Thunder team. And then they come back in game 2 and rally with a couple lopsided wins. Denver's, of course, more lopsided than the other. Then get punched in the mouth in game number 3. And you're thinking, okay, now this young team has to try to figure out how to win on the road in the playoffs. And then in game 4, you don't start off much better and then you win it. The thing is, I think it'll continue the trend. I'm not saying that the Thunder are going to win the NBA Finals, but I am saying game 5, I fully expect this Indiana Pacers team to come out with their hair on fire as a team that's not lost back-to-back postseason games and has been able to in real time learn the lessons from losses, just like this Thunder team has. Neither team has lost back-to-back games in the playoffs. And for the Thunder to win the NBA Finals, they have to change that stat. They're going to have to force Indiana to lose twice, because once you lose game 1, you have to win 2 in a row at some point to win the series. And so the Thunder have to come out in game 5 with that desperation, just like Indiana has to. And the Thunder were trailing in game 5. And then Nikola Jokic hits this unbelievable one-legged from 2-step behind the line 3-pointer. And you think, okay, this is not going well. They're going to lose this pivotal game 5 at home. I think Indiana will put that same kind of pressure on Oklahoma City in game 5. And it'll be a very close game, regardless of what our good friends over at FanDuel think the spread should be, because they do not agree with me right now at FanDuel.com. But, to the point of what have they learned, it's the only experience that they have to draw on, really. I mean, they have, last year's Thunder team, it was some of the same names. I mean, they made the swap for Giddy Caruso. They got Brian Hartenstein, but such vastly different roles. Like Jay Will was a legit part of what they were doing last year as their true backup center. So last year's team did go to 6 against Dallas, but it's just so different now. Everything is so different now that really the only experience that they have of being pushed to the absolute brink in the NBA playoffs is that Denver series. So it has to loom large. It has to be something that, you look back on it and compare it. And it's also just eerie that the game flow itself has followed that same trajectory of in game number 2. There was nerves just because you want to have nerves about winning any playoff game. But like the whole game, the Thunder were going to win that game too against Denver. And the only reason why you thought differently against Indiana is because of their track record of coming back. If Indiana was just a normal basketball team, people would have thought that game was over whenever Rick Carlisle put Johnny Furphy on the table, and it was over for Oklahoma City. So I do think it's very similar, and I think that what they learned was just how long the series was and how like you can't overreact to bad games, bad moments, bad possessions, and you have to just kind of keep fighting through it. I also think that they learned, hey, it's now a best of 3. Break the series up in that way and come out desperate in these games, especially at home. Kind of the importance of protecting home court, but they don't have to deal with Nikola Jokic in this situation, which I think with Indiana side of things, which you have to deal with, that is like the version for the Pacers that they could be equalizing the talent gap, would be the 3-point line. Like Indiana can shoot the lights out of the gym of any gym that they play in. Home, road, doesn't matter. And the Thunder cannot. So if Indiana is going to have a great couple of 3-point shooting games the rest of the way, they're going to win the NBA Finals. And so like that's going to be the real stress test and like bend and take of what these two teams do the rest of the way.
Okay, so the reason I wanted you to draw on the experience is because the Pacers don't have this part of it, right? I don't know what to make of it. So first of all, to react to something you said about the Furphy sub, usually like down 15, 4 minutes to go, Carlisle pulls his guys. Like every team in the league, I'm like, yep, it's time, right? I had fans being like, what's he doing? Why is he pulling these guys? And my initial reaction was like, duh, they're going to lose. And I'm like, wait, they literally did this like last round. Like I didn't even realize how like obscure it was given their history in the moment. Regardless, last year, the Pacers' first conference finals run, they beat the Bucks and they were up 3-1. And then they played the Knicks and it was 2-2 in that one. And that's the only comparable one. We'll get back to that. And then they got swept by the Celtics. And this year they were up 3-1, up 3-1, and up 3-1. So they only have one series in this scenario. And they lost game 5 and then won 6 and 7 against the Knicks. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, they do have the experience of like this. However, that series was the home team won every game until game 7. Whereas the Thunder have like the perfect blueprint of how this exact moment feels. So I wonder, just drawing on experiences, how much that can help the Thunder right now, especially because they have home court advantage. But I also think the Pacers know that they can win game 7s on the road, and they've won on the road at every series they've played in this entire playoff. So it's hard to find mental edges. And again, you can search for them all you want. You can talk about experience and Siakam and Caruso and all this stuff. But it's like, dude, it's the finals. Like, again, you just don't know what the moment's going to do to guys, right? Do you like how many airball threes were there in the last game between both teams? 5, probably, right?
There was a draft, a little open window action there in the old field house.
And it's the finals, man. Like you feel it. You just feel it, you know?
And I think that when you look at it, one thing that the Thunder were able to learn was just it's so hard to close out a series in game 6. Like, obviously, it was good for them to win in game 5 of that Denver series just because, like, you want to win every single playoff game. But especially to win game 5 and they have the chance to close out the series, and then seeing this Denver team who's running on fumes after the war of attrition they went through against the Clippers and now the Thunder, and just see how they got up for that game number 6 and how like nobody's going to roll over for you in the NBA playoffs. Like they're also trying to win an NBA championship. The Thunder are going to have a situation here where they should come out with a sense of urgency like you haven't really seen except for the fourth quarter of game number 4. And that's been an issue with this young Thunder team, is like maintaining the level of intensity required to win a championship, even in series where they've swept. Like they swept New Orleans last year. And again, last year's team much different, but I mean, they played with their food a little bit early in that series. And then if you just look at this year's series, you had game 1 against the Grizzlies where you have a historic blowout, and game 2 you blow them out again. Game 3, first game on the road, you messed around a little bit, and you got down 20-something points, and then John Morant goes out, and you're able to make that comeback to win game 3 and still sweep. But game 3 and 4 were tight games, and then we mentioned the game 1 mishap against both Denver and Indiana, which you felt pretty good about your chances heading into those game 1s, and yet here you sit down 0-1 in the series. And then against Minnesota, there wasn't really the pushback other than the blowout game number 3, which, anytime you get beat by 40-something points, it was due from a lack of showing up with the proper juice to win a road playoff game. So the Thunder now, I think, having seen how hard it is to close out series on the road, they're going to have to be fully focused on getting a Game 5 win. I think that Game 5 would decide this series because I just think that it'd be incredibly hard for OKC to stave off elimination Game 6 in Indiana, and I think that'd be incredibly hard for Indiana once you've relinquished not just the series lead, but now you're behind 3-2 to win 2 in a row against the Thunder. Now, not impossible for either thing to happen, just incredibly hard to where the odds would dramatically shift to like 90% of the winner of Game 5.
Alas, here we are. Quite the series. We were closer to it than any of the experts, as we expected, Rylan. Both of these, the Thunder are already, right, the farthest they've ever gotten because they only won one game in 2012, right?
So, and the only one game in 2012.
The Pacers won 2 in 2000. Massive Game 5. Absolutely massive. The Pacers
biggest
won
game in franchise history, folks. We'll see.
All around.
This is our John Corrales bit now. This is the biggest game in franchise history, just like it's the best win of the Celtics season, everyone.
John is hilarious.
I love John Corrales. And shout out to John Corrales because he does have a Milk Money CD from Sam Presti.
I would say this is the third time this year. Wait, Game 2 and Game 4. I don't know, 2, 3, and this is probably the third or fourth time this series it's been the biggest game in Pacers history, just because they fell behind 2-0 in that Lakers series. So, given the way it keeps stacking, this is number 1 now. It just keeps going this way. Alas. Well, Rylan and I will have more for you guys tomorrow, previewing Game 5 from more local perspectives on just the teams we cover. But another crossover coming after that game and after Game 6 and perhaps after a Game 7. Depending on how things go. I don't know if we'll do one after Game 7. We haven't talked about that. I kind of doubt it. We'll see. Rylan, this has been fun. You can find Rylan and Locked On Thunder wherever you are listening to this. And if you're listening to Locked On Thunder, guess what? You could find Locked On Pacers in the exact same place where you're listening to this as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to us so many times throughout the series. The finals resumes Monday. We'll be back tomorrow looking at Game 5. Till then, have a wonderful day.